The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my site, GaryBaumgarten.com, where many of you have been so kind as to post your own comments. And thanks to our friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we are syndicated into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show on this Friday. Well, you know, many news stories have been focusing on the potential threat from Iran in developing nuclear weapons, but the broader picture is even more threatening. The Washington Post recently reported that 40 or more nations worldwide have informed the United Nations that they wish to build nuclear power plants. Well, it's okay if they're building them, of course, for nuclear energy, but what about if they are really interested, many of them, in enriching plutonium for weapons? Especially many of those nations who don't really need nuclear energy because they have abundant oil resources. Well, in order to back down from the increasing global momentum towards more nuclear weapons, obviously the United States has to take some kind of a lead in pursuing nuclear non-proliferation. This November, of course, as we all know, voters here in the United States will choose the next president of the United States. New policies will come into place with the new administration. And one wonders what the future of U.S. nuclear weapons policy will look like. Will the United States, for example, take a unilateral approach toward trying to stave off a nuclear program in Iran, or will the United States work in conjunction with other nations to minimize the threat from that country? And what about the United States' own nuclear arsenal? Back in 2007, last year, Congress mandated a nuclear posture review. Now, what that is a complete assessment of the role and the size of the nuclear weapons arsenal. And that's supposed to be done by the end of 2009. So whoever the next president is, he or she, along with Congress, has to shape a new U.S. weapons policy, both nuclear and conventional. And then, of course, remember back in the Reagan days when they were talking about Star Wars? Well, there are futuristic concerns about the possibility of nukes in space. So where will the United States, and other nations for that matter, fall when it comes to an outer space treaty? Well, all very complex issues, all of great concern to everybody in the world. So we thought it would be great to bring in an expert, and we have. Joining us today is Craig Eisendrath. He is chairman of the Project for Nuclear Awareness. He's also the author of a new book, To Enter Jerusalem. Previously, he penned a book called War in Heaven, The Arms Race in Outer Space. Eisendrath served as a U.S. Foreign Service officer and is co-founder of the National Constitution Center. Craig Eisendrath, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Like a full agenda you've got.
No, it's a full agenda that you've got, because I've got the questions, as they say at Radio Shack.
I just have the answers, right?
You've got the answers,
I
yes.
hope I do.
Well, let's start with what appears to be the more clear and present danger, that of Iran. We get some assessments that indicate that they are not forthcoming, that they really are believed to be enriching the plutonium over there. And then there's other threat assessments that say, they're not a problem, they can't be a problem for X number of years. Of course, if that's the case, diplomacy, economic sanctions, the hope that there might be a regime change, all are things that we have time to work with. But we can't, of course, afford to be wrong about this. What is your assessment of the situation in Iran?
Well, I think the first thing is that we've got to be willing to talk to them. since the deposition of the Shah in '79, Iran has asked for direct bilateral talks with the United States, and we've refused. This is crazy. Diplomacy is talking to people. You don't have to like them. I mean, Ahmadinejad is not the most likable person in the world, but you sit down and you talk and you say, you know, basically, what are your issues? And they say, what are your issues? You put them on the table and you work it out. I think in the case of Iran, you have a country which is defensively working, I think, towards nuclear weapons, despite the disclaimer by the CIA that they stopped in 2003. It doesn't mean very much, because if you proceed with the high-level nuclear power plants that they've got, you can easily convert them to weapon production. So the fact that the CIA says at a certain point they're not going for nuclear weapons doesn't mean very much. I think they very much are going for nuclear weapons, and I think what is necessary is for us to talk to them, for us to ease their mind that we're not going to invade them or bomb them or put them under great risk. And in fact, statements we're making just recently have done that. If I were a country of that size and that power, I would arm myself with nuclear weapons just to fend off an attack. We've got to ease their mind that that attack is not forthcoming, and in fact that nuclear weapons are not necessary.
Well, you know, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt who said, walk softly and carry a big stick. Everybody knows that the United States has a big stick. It's not necessary, in my opinion, for the Vice President of the United States to say, well, we're going to move our fleet in there and we can bomb you back into the Stone Age. Everybody knows that we have the capability of doing that. And I guess the analogy that I use, I like to use, Craig Eisendrath, is when you pull up at a red light and the cop pulls up next to you, he doesn't get on his loud hailer and say to you, okay, you in the Mercury Milan, whatever you do, when the light turns green, don't speed or I will give you a ticket. If I look over there and I see he's over there, I know